We're all pretty stupid if you think about it, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm any different. Many of us coast through this world while having next to no idea how any of it even functions. Now, the cynic in me says that this is by design, but the realist in me says that it's because we genuinely don't need to. In the great timeline of humanity, the life you and I are living today is luxurious to a degree beyond what royalty and aristocracy centuries ago could even fathom, while we're completely oblivious to how any of it was laid at our feet. The problem this creates, and the point of this video, is that if we have no idea where anything comes from, or how it functions, we can easily destroy it without ever understanding why, as many others in the past have already done. If you happen to be the sort of person who buys things, you may have noticed that they've begun to cost more. You may also have noticed that while things cost more money, the wages we're paid have not risen to meet them. These are both due to markets. Now, you may have seen people standing in the streets screaming about how people should make more money or things shouldn't cost so much, and that the government should step in and, I don't know, do something about this. And there have been many times in history where people thought the same thing and tried to do just that with, let's say, mixed results. But listen, you're stupid and I'm stupid. So trying to teach you about market economics would be a waste of time for both of us. So how about I just boil it down into something simple and relatable that both of our stupid brains can easily comprehend. Okay, dummy? You ever have to go to the DMV? You may have tried to put that experience out of your mind because of how miserable it was, but try to remember it. What was it like? Did it involve taking a number, sitting in an uncomfortable chair for an uncomfortable amount of time, and just waiting until it was finally your turn? And when you were finally helped, was it by someone who barely seemed interested in helping you? They weren't friendly, they weren't cordial, they talked to you like they had no investment in whether or not you left there satisfied. And at the end, you paid money for something you wouldn't do if you weren't legally compelled to. Have you ever wondered why the DMV has been renowned for as long as it's existed for being a miserable place to have to visit? It's because they have no incentive to offer anything better than that. I mean, it's not like you can leave and take your business down the street to their competitors because they have none. So, although they are providing a service, they can provide as poor a service as possible because there are literally no alternatives. So when people talk about getting the government involved in this or that industry, remember the DMV. Remember what happens when government grants its own monopoly for a service. But what about when the government is involved but there are alternatives? Again, think about your experiences. Think about when you go to the post office. You stand in line, there are several counters but only 2 are being worked, service is slow, and then one of the 2 people goes on break.
I'll handle this, Violet. Why don't you take your 3-hour break?
So you wait. But you don't have to use the post office, so try going to one of their competitors and see if you notice anything different. Go to a FedEx or UPS store, and you'll find that you can barely walk in the door before someone greets you warmly and asks if they can help you. The differences are stark because unlike the US Postal Service, FedEx and UPS are businesses. Businesses that can't afford to offer services which are slow or low quality. That's because they have things like overhead, materials, and payroll, which are paid for by the business. So if they develop a reputation for slow or poor service, and enough people choose to do business elsewhere, the company will cease to exist. Compare this to the US Postal Service, who never have to worry about going out of business, because their overhead, materials, and payroll are guaranteed by you, the US taxpayer. So no matter how poorly they perform, their existence as an entity is guaranteed by the very people they are providing services for. Now you might say, if competition determines the quality of service and there is competition, why does anyone use the US Post Office? And the answer is, because it is not really a competition. It is more expensive for FedEx and UPS to ship packages because they are paying the actual cost of doing business. Whereas the post office charges rates which are kept low in order to keep the post office in business. So when people use the post office, they are paying less for a poorer product on top of their tax dollars which are used to generate the discount. That's what government services are. A poorer product subsidized with all of our money at the expense of a real industry which is fueled by real competition. Now maybe you hear this and you think, well, it's just mail. I like being able to send a letter for 50 cents or a package for a couple of bucks. And that's fine. But imagine if the same practice were applied across all industries. Imagine if this were done for the production of food, which has been tried throughout history and in many places. A poorer product or poorer service may not seem like a big deal until we're talking about incalculable food tonnage and millions of lives lost to famine. Many mass graves were put there by people in government who thought they knew better than the farmers and the market to distribute food. That's when the true gravity and its devastating effects are understood. And this is a lesson that needs repeating, because even now there are people who swear they can improve the world if we just let them do this. That they can put an end to inequality if we just give them that power. And I know we're both stupid, but we simply can't afford to be that stupid ever again.